for the Nature Conservancy in New Jersey. I want to welcome you on behalf of the New Jersey Statewide Dam Removal Partnership, or the partnership as I'll call it. It's a collaboration of nonprofits, government agencies that seek to advance the removal of antiquated, dangerous, or ecologically detrimental dams. Its members meet quarterly to discuss beneficial dam removal projects and to exchange information regarding policy, regulatory issues, funding, and the practical considerations of dam removal. The partnership also provides information to the public about how dams and dam removal may affect their communities and their lives. Our website is njdams.org. Recording of the previous 7 presentations and this one very soon will be found on that website. Look under the resources tab where you'll find previous recordings on the basics of dam removal, funding, permitting, monitoring, and recreation as it relates to dam removal. Our meeting goals for today include understanding the benefits of dam removal to local governments and the challenges that those governments may face in dam removal. We'll look at 1 case study in depth, and then we'll do 4 sort of mini case studies. We'll also hear from 2 of our federal partners that have programs where they're able to work with, lend technical assistance and provide some funding to local governments. Also look forward to conversations on this topic. We have registrants from 5 states in addition to New Jersey, and we have the following cities on board. If I'm not mentioning your city and you're on board, please go ahead and put it into the chat. We have participants today from Toronto, Philadelphia, Kinnelon, Rockaway, Belvedere, Blairstown, Clinton, Bernardsville, Plainsboro, and the counties of Morris and Ocean. Again, if I skipped you and you're on, please go ahead and put that in the chat. Before we get started, I will point out that the title of today's presentation is not Case Studies of Local Government Removals That Went Quickly, Had an Easy Time of Finding Funding, and Pleased Everyone in the Entire Community, including the Historic Commission. That is not our title. In fact, these dam removals present challenges because it is not a single dam owner that needs to come to the conclusion that it's time to remove a dam. So from the very beginning, a town or a county making a decision to remove a dam can be a bit more complicated than a private owner doing so. Any local government must bring every council, committee, or board member on board. They'll need to seek funding, figure out logistics, and bring as many residents and users of the resource on board as possible. So today, I'll introduce in a moment, we'll take a deep dive into the Hudsonia Lake Dam removal in Rockaway, New Jersey, and then we'll do 4 mini presentations about dam removals in various stages in Blairstown, Belvedere, Clinton Township, and Bernardsville, New Jersey. We'll also hear from 2 federal partners. Okay, so without further ado, I am going to introduce Allison Ferrante, the municipal engineer with Rockaway Township, who will present to us on the Hudsonia Dam removal. So Allison, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you, Beth. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, great. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully we don't have technical difficulties here. And here we go. All right, yes, as Beth said, this is the case study on Lake Hudsonia Dam removal. This has been in the works for nearly 25 years here at Rockaway Township. And we're going to look at the reconstruction versus the removal of this dam. We are currently in the removal, in construction of the removal of this dam. There's a little bit about my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me, phone me, email me, should you have any questions following the presentation. I spent, prior to coming to the township, I was 10 years in the private sector doing environmental engineering as well as site engineering. I have a little history in the permitting, New Jersey DEP permitting world with wetlands and flood hazard permits. So it gave me a little bit of a background to be in the position that I am in. So a little bit Rockaway Township. We're located in the northeast portion of our state in Morris County. We're about 45 square miles.
Allison?
Yes?
Sorry, your slides are not advancing. So if you can hit slideshow and from beginning and then advance to the, it looks like the third slide there.
Okay, I'm hitting start from the beginning.
Okay. All right. If you can choose from the menu that says slideshow, it's about the 5th or 6th choice from left, and see if you can go across the toolbar there, or the menu bar, slideshow. You can see home, insert, draw, design.
Oh, no.
Go down to the next row. No problem. Just take your time. Go down to the next row. And then you see the insert, for example, just.
Yeah.
Okay, keep edging over to, yep, slideshow. Try from beginning.
Okay. Contact information. Did it advance?
It's still not, did you click on from beginning? Anyone who has some ideas?
Sorry to interrupt. Do you have two screens?
No, only the one on this surface. Only the one.
Okay.
Set up slideshow. Set from current slide.
Try it, but I don't know. Can you also use your cursor to click on the slide sometimes? Like click on the number 3.
How about that? All right. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay.
And then maybe start over.
Okay.
Okay,
and
let's try.
If someone has a helpful idea and can unmute themselves, that would be great.
Oh no. Let's see now. Okay, now I'm gonna share screen.
Okay.
Windows. When we were practicing, did you see the slides advance?
Yes.
Okay, share. From the beginning, I'm going to click here.
Okay.
And click here.
If the slideshow doesn't start, you may want to just manually click them as
Yeah, is this okay with everybody?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Thanks.
All right. So we all know where Rockaway Township is located in the state. We're about 26,000 people. I like this Google image. Let's see, can we hide that? Okay. Google image, it shows that the northern portion of our township is really undeveloped, and more of our open space in the southern portion by Route 80 and Rockaway Borough and Dover and Warden and Route 46 is really our denser development. For any government officials who are on, we're a Faulkner form of government, 9 council members, 6 wards with 3 at large. Mayor Strong is elected, and lucky me, I get to attend as a municipal engineer every council meeting, particularly when we have important issues like dams on the agenda. This is another aerial. Is it looking good? Are we advancing?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So the dam of concern is really centrally located where you see Lake Telemark it's just north of that community. This is Lake Hudsonia. Our next slide is to show you that Rockaway Township has many surface water bodies within the township. This is actually a water quality study that we're currently doing. We received a grant from the Highlands Council to investigate the surface water. It didn't matter whether it was private or public water bodies. We're investigating their water quality and potential mitigation strategies. But of all these lakes, the township owns 5 water bodies. Starting from the north end, Lake Egberts, then the subject Lake Hudsonia, Then working south, Lake Ames, Mount Hope Pond, and we share Parks Lake or Fox's Pond with the borough. All these 5 surface water bodies, we have 4 dams, 3 of which are class 2. The 4th one is a class 3. We are currently, as I said, in the midst of deconstruction of the Hudsonia Dam. Lake Ames is currently on the desk at DEP, hopefully for final design for the reconstruction. That budget is currently at $1.3 million for that dam. And Mount Hope Pond, we just went out to quote for the conceptual design of that dam. So I wanted to provide a little bit of context that Lake Hudsonia is not the only dam on our inventory. Okay, let's scroll along. Lake Hudsonia environment. So back up towards the center of Rockaway Township, we've got Lake Hudsonia. In the center there is Lake Telemark, an older lake community, very densely developed. And that's just to the south of Camp Hudsonia. The reason why it's called Camp Hudsonia or the Girl Scout camps is because that's why it was originally created for the Girl Scout camp. And there's another aerial shot, half of which was shot in the summertime, the other half in the wintertime. I couldn't find a better aerial shot. This is looking at Hudsonia, looking north at the headwaters, coming into it, and looking south. I did have these loading as I talked, but we'll just improvise. So it is a 6.5 acre lake that's only 4 to 6 feet deep. That is important because it's not that deep. So we know that contributes to poorer water quality, higher temperatures. 1.6 square miles drains into it. And what's another unique feature is that it's a long breach. It's a long dam. So it's over 500 feet long. It is 4 to 13 feet high. It's considered a class 2 significant hazard. The brook that drains into it is a freshwater non-trout producing C1 stream. A little bit of history. It was developed in the early 1900s as a Girl Scout camp. There are rumors that it was used for early mining activities. In the 1980s, it was abandoned, and the township acquired it in 1999. So it was a relatively recent acquisition. In the late 90s, we received from New Jersey DEP that the dam was in poor condition. I'm sure that many municipalities and private dam owners can sympathize. In 99, there was an analysis performed, reconstruction versus removal. However, at that time, it was determined to continue on to reconstruct this dam. There's not much in the file and not too many people left around to speak on this. I did find that there was a repair estimate at $422,000. And we'll see that price increases over the next decade. So from 99 to 2011, we were required to do emergency repairs on this dam, the H&H studies, the EAP, conceptual design, and we revisited this debate of reconstruction versus removal in 2011, when the price of the reconstruction reached nearly $1 million. So at that time, it was reevaluated, and we asked the engineering consultant at that time to do an engineering estimate to actually remove the dam, which came in around $450 to $650. So there was a huge price cost difference here. So it started the great debate. We looked at socioeconomic factors and environmental cost-benefit analysis, which I'm sure many of you are also sharing in your debate. The unique things about this Lake Hudsonia Dam, it was in the middle to northern portion of town, not widely used by the public. There was no hydropower, irrigation, or it was not used for a drinking water source. There was really no active recreation occurring. Some fishermen, some area hikers, maybe an ATV once in a while, but there's no public beach, there's no it's not in the center of town where it would have a public benefit. Flood control, there was concern, although the data shows that when you have a failing structure, that it's more of a flood hazard than of a control feature. Historical significance, although it's been in the community for a while, but there's no historical, it's not on the registry, or people were just used to having this surface water body in the neighborhood. Also, some local fire departments said that they used it for drafting, but there wasn't a formal draft point like other places in town. And there's other sources of water up in the northern part of town. And the aesthetics. The benefits, while looking at, were the removal of this hazardous structure, the reduction of the risk in the failure, the flooding, the eliminate the liability. Many towns now, every time you have a dam, it's on the GIF list, and your insurance rates go up. So they are eagerly waiting for me to remove this dam so they can remove one of our dams from our insurance. And I think that over time, these financial costs of periodic inspections, maintenance, repairs, and required upgrades to meet the ever-mounting regulatory requirements started to increase. The long-term maintenance of these dams started to, I think, hit the policymakers a little bit more. And then concurrently, you've got the data supporting the environmental benefits of removing a dam. So I think that main points between the 1999 analysis and the 2011 analysis was, like I mentioned, the sheer cost. I also reached out to the former engineer who reminded me that in 2008, we had the economic downturn, and then in 2011, we had the downsizing. So government started to be a little bit more fiscal conservative. So the removal started to be more attractive. We also had H&H analysis, which showed no peak flow or flood, no increase in the peak flow or the flood stage elevation, no increase in the downstream community, which was a real and apparent concern with the removal of this dam structure. So the dam engineer was asked to perform this analysis. And so we had this data now where we didn't have it in 99. You and I know today we cannot go forth with a DEP project with causing any adverse impact downstream. But I think in the 12 years that passed, showing that data was important. And then the environmental benefits, which started to be more apparent, and more studies supporting that wetlands, the natural wetland construction is very beneficial to the ecological community. And lastly, I believe that the icing on the cake was the grant received from the Wetlands Mitigation Council in the amount of $350,000. I think that helped both those policymakers those decision makers who were concentrated on the dollars and cents, and then also those who, having this grant behind us from the Wetlands Mitigation, really proved the science behind the environmental benefits of restoring this to the natural state. So we jumped to 2014, where we had several council meetings. They took straw votes, and the removal was voted on. In 2015, another resolution appears authorizing the consent to submit a DEP permits. And then the submission of the DEP permits, and with that, the notification to the surrounding property owners really brought out public awareness to this project. So much so that the DEP asked the township to host a meeting at the local downstream community, to which the township kindly asked the DEP to be present at, as well as a number of township officials were there. We called in not only our dam engineer, but the environmental consultants, the environmental engineer, because, they have to hear the science. They have to hear the data from the professionals. So I believe that did mitigate, not all, but many of the public concerns at that time. And we proceeded to move forward, where in 2018, we finally received the final DEP permit, went out to bid in 2019, only to receive all bids over the engineering estimate. We tucked away a little bit more money, and in 2020, we issued the award. and we are currently in the midst of construction, or deconstruction, I should say.
2 minutes, Allison?
All right. So we've got looking north. This is dewatering of the impoundment. This was taken earlier this year, probably around like April. In the background, you see a pump drawing it down. Then we have some more dewatering. You actually see the fish salvage occurring. I was told this is a bass, about 3 to 4 pounds, and it was located in a downstream lake, Lake Ames, which will just in the future have to relocate elsewhere and during our reconstruction. Those are 48-inch corrugated plastic pipe for the dewatering, temporary dewatering. This is our coffer dam. Construction sequencing, we had to do tree removal during the Indiana bat timing. Then, like I said, in the spring, we did a controlled dewatering. Then we had to pause because we had to get out of the water, which allowed us to dry out the sediment upstream. And actually, the contractor is just back on site to construct the channel upland. Then he's going to do grading and planting. And then comes the dam breach, which we're going to time it and see whether or not we could get it in this winter or whether or not we have to move to spring. That would be spring 2022. This is photos from this morning, actually. Contractor's making his way upstream to start the channel construction. This is what's left of the impoundment. I'm actually standing at the dam, at the breach itself. This is looking back northeast at the temporary diversion. And this is the discharge point. Quickly, if I may, I'd like to run through some takeaways from this case study. Start tucking away money now. We actually, records go back to the mid-90s on when the township started to tuck away money. It's important to have an in-house project manager. As you see, this would span nearly 25 years. So somebody who's going to be there for the long haul, maybe not that long, but somebody who would like to maintain files and pass them along and is unbiased, somebody that can present the facts on the matter. It's important to have both a dam engineering specialist. Just because you're an engineer doesn't mean that you could do dam engineering. And I believe it's vital to bring in an environmental consultant, somebody who's knowledgeable of natural resource management. Both these engineers have to have an established relationship with the New Jersey DEP to discuss alternatives, to move the permitting process along, and to attend meetings regularly. You have to be open to design alternatives and communicate them with the stakeholders and tuck away some more money. And it's important to look at the characteristics of your dam and your impoundment. And you should write all these down. You may think that they're just in your head, but you should put them down on paper. With Lake Hudsonia, it was a rather long breach. So it was the cost to reconstruct that dam was really astronomical. In addition, that's a really shallow impoundment. The water quality was poor. And so the impoundment itself, to my next point, what does the water body mean to your community? If, for instance, if I suggested that we should remove Mount Hope Pond here in Rockaway Township, I might as well hand in my letter of resignation because that water body is very significant to this community. So the thresholds of reconstruction versus removal is quite different on that water body. The state of the economy also influences the decision-making as well as the political environment. This can easily be a political football. One important concern is to listen to the public's concern and spend the money to do the due diligence. If there's a concern with the sediment, if there's contamination in the sediment, take sediment sampling. If there's concern with downstream sedimentation, put the extra control measures on your plan. It's going to save you throughout the many times that you have to go in front and defend this project, and also during construction. Seek financial assistance, grant funding. I believe that was a turning point. And last but not least, it is important to have construction oversight and monitoring by qualified professionals. That will give you the security out in the field that you know the contractor is putting in what you promised the public. And that's it.
Thank you very much. We're going to save questions until the end. Thank you. If you can hit the stop sharing, we're going to segue right into our Blairstown.
Yes, thank you everybody for having me, and I apologize if I spoke really quickly.
No, and I'm sure folks are going to have questions. That was excellent. And, you know, you really kind of justify the crux of what it is we're here to talk about today. So that's it was perfect. You hit every button there.
All right.
Okay. Okay, give me a second. I kind of jumped around a little bit. Okay, so I am now going to talk about the Paulina Dam, which is on the Paulins Kill, which is a tributary to the Delaware. I'm going to just give you a brief snapshot, and then we're going to talk to one of the committee members from Blairstown. So the Paulina Dam is a 13-foot high and roughly 200-foot long timber crib dam constructed in 1895. It is a Class 2 significant hazard dam in poor condition. It has that hazard rating due to its proximity to Blairstown. Just a quick thing from the environmental standpoint, you can see the dam with the yellow arrow pointing at it. This impoundment runs about 3/4 of a mile up. The circle most to your left there shows you what this river looks like in its impounded state. So this should be a swiftly flowing rocky bottom stream. Going just a little bit further upstream, a total of about maybe 3/4, close to a mile upstream, and you start to see the characteristics that, you know, made the Paulins Kill a river that has historically had shad and a lot of our other native species. You see, you see a mix of bedrock, you see some cobble there, you see oxygenation, you see a nice canopy, you see flow. So the removal of the dam will reinstate those characteristics to the Paulins Kill as a whole. To this section of the Paulins Kill, which fits into the Nature's Conservancy's restoration plan for the Paulins Kill as a whole. Now I'm going to ask if committee member Joanne Van Valkenburg can unmute herself. Okay.
I did. Thank you, Beth.
Okay, I'm sure that you were feeling a lot of deja vu as Allison spoke, but if you want to just address two things, what are the challenges of owning this dam? You know, what concerns are you hearing from the community, and maybe just throw in how long you've been working on the removal.
Okay, so I thank you, and that was a terrific presentation that she just gave. I've been on this committee since 2015 again, but I believe that there were major projects that were kind of put on hold since 2010. One of which was the removal of a concentration of either removing or fixing this dam. Since 2010, a lot of the challenges that we had made is we were required every single year, as many others, I'm sure, to do an inspection of the dam, which was a costly project. We knew that there were issues with the dam. So fortunate for us, I had met someone who introduced me to two incredible people. Beth, one was you, the other was Barbara Badum. And that's what started us with really concentrating on the removal of the dam. Also with hearing about the Columbia Dam in Knowlton Township, the tremendous project that you did, that you handled over there. Some of the other challenges that we have is there's a lot of flooding downstream that happens to the center of our town in Blairstown. And one of the concerns from a lot of the residents there is that, you know, with this dam removed, are we going to have flooding? And I know that in many of the presentations that you gave, Beth, any expansion would be more upstream than it would be downstream. So we haven't really had many complaints since your presentations regarding that issue. And I do know that upstream from where the dam is being removed, there is a wider area for the water to expand to. The other thing we are excited about is the fact that we did hear that shad had come up since the Columbia Dam had been taken down, and we're hoping that that will continue. I think up to our dam, there was a sighting of shad. So we're looking forward to really doing some great things once this dam is removed. And without your help and without Barbara's, I don't think we would be at this stage. We're hoping that next spring, I believe, we can start the project. So
Yep.
we're looking forward to that and working with you and getting the residents into a real good feel here.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. It's, you know, it's important that people get to hear kind of the on the ground experiences that towns are having. So thank you. And to address that concern about, you know, any effect on flooding, as Allison mentioned, you know, we really need to demonstrate in these projects that it will not, you know, increase flooding anywhere basically before.
Correct. And it will help with I believe, with the silt along the banks upstream, which a lot of the homes, one of the homes I had for sale there, a buyer had asked, you know, can we go in the water? And the owner said, well, you really can't, because there's a tremendous amount of silt, you know, at the edge of our property. So hopefully with the stream running at a nice, you know, at a nice pace, that some of that silt will go away and bring it back to a great area for people to get into.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to segue now into,
Thank you.
Into Belvedere, another Warren County town. And I believe we have Mayor Joe Kennedy, if he can go ahead and unmute himself as I introduce the dams. In Belvedere, on the Pequest River, another tributary to the Delaware, there are two dams within about 1,500 feet of the confluence with the Delaware. They are both roughly 7 feet high. One is about 85 feet wide, the other about 145 feet wide. One is owned by the state, the other is jointly owned by two private citizens. I'll give you a little look at what some of the challenges. The one on your left is very close to a railroad bridge, and just upstream of that are a number of homeowners who have who are really backed right up onto that impoundment. You can see the buildings cantilevered over these this dam. This is the one that's about 1,500 feet from the confluence. So two things we're hoping to achieve. Give you well, let me mention one while we're looking at this photo, is that this dam does experience ice, you know, ice jams during high flows and ice that actually create a second raised dam, in essence, that floods local business and residential property. So you can see those two yellow push pins there are the two dams. As is often the case in our older cities and towns, these dams, these rivers rather, you know, are built right up to the edge. So we are hoping, now just to be clear, a lot of the flooding in Belvedere does come from the Delaware as it floods, but the tributary flowing to it, we're looking at a relief of the 10, 50, and 100-year flood of up to 3 feet. So again, you know, something like Ida, Irene, this, you know, project wouldn't mitigate that flooding per se, but a lot of the nuisance flooding that these property owners, both commercial and residential, we're hoping that they'll see some relief. And is Mayor Kennedy on the phone? Okay, I'm gonna take the silence as a no and then go ahead and move on. I'm sure he must have had something else come up. But I can tell you that while they are not owners of this town, the problems with flooding that cause obviously the safety hazard, repeated damage to properties, and even, you know, job for the firefighters from time to time. Okay, so I am now going to turn this over to Bill Kibler. And Bill, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, Bill is going to talk about a dam, the Beaver Brook Ravine Dam in Clinton Township.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you. Bill is with the Raritan Headwaters Association.
Starting to feel like one of those recurring guests on a
I know, and I appreciate
on a
your,
talk show, you know.
I appreciate
folks
your
aren't getting-
accepting the invitation.
Oh, absolutely. Very glad to do it. Let's see if we can just get this up so everybody can see. I want to talk to you today super briefly about the Beaver Brook Ravine Dam. This is in Clinton Township in Hunterdon County. This is an aerial view of the site. You can see Beaver Brook Ravine. Beaver Brook runs from the upper end of your screen to the lower end of your screen, the traditional north to south route. And you can kind of see it through here. You can see the landscape here. This is pretty typical for our watershed. It's a mix of, you see agricultural fields here, you see intact forest here, and you see low density suburban development, which is kind of typical of what you see. This area where the Beaver Brook Ravine is, the dam is in this area here. Is preserved open space. It's used, it's a recreational area, primarily hiking, dog walking, running, that sort of thing. Access for local folks here in Clinton Township to get out and take a hike, or for folks to come in from out of town to take a hike. And this is a close-up. Our friends in Clinton Township were good enough to take us for a site visit earlier this year. I think it took us 4 tries to actually get on site, because we tried to schedule this in February, and it seemed like every time we scheduled it, we got walloped with a giant snowstorm. So finally the snow went away so we could see what we were looking at. We got out to the site. You can see what's here. This is a remnant dam. It's in really bad disrepair. This was part of what was originally a commercial complex here a long time ago, many years ago. And there's remnants of an historic furnace on site. Issues with the dam include things like upstream of the dam, you've got significant siltation, which is creating issues, water quality issues, as well as hydrology issues. Then downstream of the dam, there's a significant amount of scouring. You can see the hydrology of the stream is kind of all messed up here. The stream going everywhere except in the bed that it was originally in before the dam was put there. And I suspect that there are also some issues, you know, with this just being what a lawyer might call an attractive nuisance for the kids. So with that, I'd like to see if Mike McHugh from Clinton Township is on. Mike, if you can unmute yourself, we can let somebody from Clinton Township give you an idea of why this is important to their town and what they had in mind.
I'm here, Bill.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm
Oh,
well.
by the way, I have to congratulate Clinton Township. Their project team for this project has 3 people named Mike. So if you want to simplify your life, just give everybody on your committee the same name, and then you just go, hey, Mike, you got to go talk at this thing this afternoon, so you're up. Mike,
Okay.
thanks. Floor is
I'm
yours.
Mike M.
Mike M.
Mike 1, Mike 2, Mike 3 has been suggested.
Okay.
We have this small relic dam across Beaver Brook. As you can see, it's really degrading. It is not really impounding any body of water. Rather, it has so silted in behind it that it's just a stream bed. The water regularly overtops the dam, so it's really not containing or providing any flood control. There has been a starvation of fine sediment below the dam for years, and that impacted the wildlife, the fish. However, there's been more sand getting past the dam, and that seems to be bringing the fish back. We have seen brown trout above and below the dam in increasing numbers. And I have a report of a brook trout being seen above the dam some short distance. As you note, there's not a whole lot of traffic to the dam. It's widely disregarded. Very few people know about it other than the local residents who have been there for years. Newer residents even tend to be unaware of it. There are hiking trails nearby. It's in a historic area. You mentioned the colonial iron furnace there, and there are iron mines and a trail system that is maintained by local volunteers. It is hoped that we can improve access to the area and have it more utilized. But again, you bring up the concept of attractive nuisance, and we really don't want kids walking across this dam or falling off the edge or things like that. We have had a change in membership in our local open space committee, and that has set us back a little bit, but we're getting past that now. And hopefully we can get on track to start the removal process.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike. I
Aversa,
appreciate that.
you're welcome.
If we can do this in less than 25 years, I guess we'll be a step ahead of Rockaway Township. So I appreciated that, hearing that from Allison. That took a little bit of heat off from a few of my projects. Beth, back to you.
Thanks, Bill.
I do know, and we can bring them forward for questions, but I know that Amy Switek from the Clinton Township Council is on, and also the Open Space Chair, Mike Aversa, is on. But in the interest of time, we're going to move to Christy McDonald, also of Raritan Headwaters Association. She's going to talk about a project in Bernardsville. And as Christy's getting her slides up, I'll mention that you see, it is by design that we're showing you projects in various stages of completion, because, these things, they do take time. The other thing that I'm glad you're getting a chance to see is that the NGOs and other agencies are partnering on these, not only for funding, but help with community outreach and some technical assistance. So with that, take it away, Christy. You may be muted.
That happens to me all the time. Okay, hi everyone. Again, it's Christy McDonald, and I'm with Raritan Headwaters. As Beth just said, I'm joined by Bill Kibler. He can add something to this discussion as well. We've both been visiting the dam and working with Bernardsville on the project. And it's great today because we have Doug Walker here. He's the project manager with the Bernardsville Department of Public Works, and he's been overseeing the project along with our municipal engineer, Paul Ferraro, sorry. Having trouble advancing slides. Hopefully that's good.
Christy, sometimes if you just tip it once and then hit advance, sometimes you need to.
Okay. I'm going to try to go through this kind of quickly because I want to hand it over to Doug so he can really talk about the status of the project. We're still in the early stages, but we're a little further along than the Beaver Brook project. And he's going to have some information to share about some of the challenges, opportunities, and also where we are with whether we want to remove or repair the dam. But before that, I just wanted to orient us a little bit to where the dam is located, provide a little bit of information about the dam. First, here's the dam, and then we're going to look at some maps. This is Memorial Park in Bernardsville, New Jersey, in Somerset County, right near the border with Morris County. This dam is on the Mine Brook, which is a tributary to the North Branch. So if you could see my my pointer here. So here's the North Branch Raritan, here's the South Branch Raritan. We have Manhattan over here slightly off my screen. I can't really see it. For anybody who's joining who's not from the region, I just thought it would be good to see this. So this is the headwaters of the Raritan River, which eventually flows down through more urban areas of New Jersey and out to Raritan Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. Bernardsville is near the headwaters of the Minebrook, which feeds into the North Branch. This is a little bit of a kind of view of Bernardsville here. We have the Minebrook, which flows down from Bernardsville through Far Hills and meets up with the North Branch Raritan. I'm going to focus in again here. So here is the Minebrook flowing through town. The road is called Minebrook Road. And the dam is located pretty much in the downtown area. This is the pond in the park here. Here's the location of the dam. And you can see it's a pretty, there's some industrial land use around it. The main municipal complex is located right here. Here's the dam again. And here's where the inlet is from the Minebrook and where the outlet is again to the Minebrook below that. And here's a view of Nervine Park looking upstream to the Minebrook here. And where the inlet is, you can see the bridge and the pavilion. Bernardsville is actually very forward thinking and trying to protect the Minebrook. Over here, we have a restoration planting that was done about 3 years ago using Roots for Rivers funds from the Nature Conservancy. And it's really taken off. The planting's very successful. There's a buffer strip that's not mowed. In addition, all along that pond, we've been putting in green infrastructure. So here's a picture of one of our bioswales with public outreach signage along the trail here. But we're all faced with what most of our municipalities are dealing with in this region. Our impacts of land use, urbanization and suburbanization has resulted in a lot of impervious cover. And then we also have old-fashioned stormwater infrastructure that just tries to get the rainfall right off the property. And this combined with climate change and increased precipitation and major storms is resulting in things like this in our waterways. So here's an image again, you can kind of see the pavilion where the Minebrook is coming into the pond that's impounded by the dam. And you can see the sediment. This was taken last May after a major rainstorm. This was taken after Ida. So the powerful movement of the water during Ida, all that stormwater runoff coming into the Minebrook and then entering the pond, just moved so much rock and sediment out into the pond. And you can just see all the debris. Definitely a major water quality problem. Here's a view looking downstream. You can see the municipal building. The dam is here. Here's that same sediment bar that was washed out during Ida. And here's looking down the spillway. That's the municipal building, which actually is right to the right of me standing here taking the photo. So right at the bottom of the main spillway, you kind of come down and the municipal building is just about 15, 20 feet away. Doug might be able to give you an exact measurement. And this is looking upstream toward the dam. So there's actually kind of 3 tiers to this dam. And here's where it comes down and starts to enter into the pretty narrow Minebrook. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Doug. Doug Walker, again, he's a project manager for the borough of Bernardsville. And I wanted to mention, we're also joined by Mayor Mary Jane Canos, who has been a champion of many of the projects that we've been doing in Bernardsville, including the green infrastructure and plantings that we've done along the river. So I'm going to hand it over to Doug now, and Mary Jane, if you want to pipe in, feel free to do that.
Yes, hi, I'm Doug Walker. As Christy said, I'm the project manager for this effort. I came on board on this project, I guess about 20 months ago. So we're still very much in the data collection phase. We have completed our H&H, we have submitted and have approval from NJDEP Dam Safety for a reconstruction plan of the dam. I guess it was later last year, we decided to go ahead and let's take a look at any opportunities for the breach option. So that's kind of where we are. So we're in the process of collecting more data. We've completed several studies, geomorphic and other studies. We also did some sampling of the silt. We think that's going to be an issue for us. We're hoping that the silt will be of a quality that we can keep it on site. And if we do go to a restoration of the existing dam, or if we go back to recreating the stream, we're hoping that the silt is of a quality that we can reuse it on site and create some recreational areas with it versus having to take it off site, because as you all know, that's a major expense. So again, we're in the process. Our engineer that's doing our testing for us, we're waiting for the sediment samples, but they definitely feel that there is an opportunity without creating any downstream issues or upstream issues to reconstitute the stream. We're working on building some scenarios with that for that. And we hope to have some scenarios that we can look at probably in October, get those out to the council for review, and then we can start start to do some cost benefit analysis once we have that sediment issue and the arms around that and the quality of the sediment. And then we can start doing some of the other data collection that in the previous presentation, I talked about the cost benefit analysis. Our pond has been here for a very long time. A lot of people enjoy it. So we're also going to have to have that conversation, what the community wants the area to look like. We're thinking we can get some more recreational opportunity and better water quality, obviously, if we go back to a stream situation. But again, all those things we still need to move forward on. But I think we've done pretty well for really hammering at it for 20 months. I think we're making some good progress. The council's been great. We talked about funding in one of the earlier presentations. The council has put aside 1.35 million to address it. So I think that's kind of our engineering estimate. So I think we're in good standing there, and we're just going to continue to move forward, collect data, and share the information with the council and also the community.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Christy and Doug. Christy, if you wouldn't mind, stop sharing. Sorry, we're a little behind, so I'm going to ask Beth Friday if you can put your slide up and be ready to deliver a 60-second sales pitch for U.S. Fish and Wildlife and all the great things that partnering with the service can do for projects in river restoration, including dam removal. And then Evan, if you want to be ready to jump right on as soon as Beth is done. And if folks want to start putting their questions into the chat, and we'll also stay on longer if we need to stay on for questions.
Hey, this is Beth Friday. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, I couldn't get it to really go into slideshow mode, so I'm just going to show it like this.
Seems to be a theme today.
Okay, so I'm Beth Friday. I'm with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, our Partners for Fish and Wildlife program, which is one of the habitat restoration programs that we have at the New Jersey field office. So we provide financial assistance, technical assistance, and also help with permitting. Under the financial assistance piece, we have several different programs in our office. Partners program is one of them. We work with county, township, city, private landowners, farmers, ranchers. The only thing our Partners program can't work with are state and federal landowners. But our coastal program can work with those landowners. So then they're both habitat restoration programs. We also have funding through the Fish and Wildlife Service that's administered through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. You know that as the NIFWIF acronym. So we've got the Delaware Basin Act Fund has a couple of funding mechanisms in it. We also have our Atlantic Coast Fish Habitat Partnership. And then something I added that I was thinking of here today is, there's an infrastructure bill being considered. The Department of the Interior, of which the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is housed, will be getting a fair amount of funding. And so I was just thinking of things to add to our list. The Beaverbrook one I can add. Bernardsville, if you guys want to go forward with that, I can add it for consideration. Protection of that municipal building, I think, would really look good to these funders. So we've got a lot of opportunities to assist financially, technical assistance. We have trained fish and wildlife biologists. We've got a marine biologist in our office. The real neat thing that we have is at our regional office, we have engineers who are fish passage engineers. So, they have all of the credentials of an engineer, but they specialize in building structures that will pass fish, and they know the natural history of anadromous and some resident fish. And the other thing that we can do really well is help you with the compliance documents. Anytime you get federal funding, you need to ensure that you comply with the federal laws, which is NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act, the Endangered Species Act, the Historic Preservation Act. So we can help you with those things. And for the Historic Preservation Act, when you're consulting with the tribals, it's really supposed to be a nation-to-nation consultation. And so it's really helpful that Fish and Wildlife Service could do that as a nation-to-nation consultation. So we're really supportive of dam removals. We have a lot of funding structures and a lot of ways to help. So I'll put my contact information in the chat box. And I've already talked to both of the townships that were here today talking. So we're just here to help when you're ready. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Beth. If you want to go ahead and stop sharing and Evan can put his slide up. I can vouch for more than a decade of working with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and with Natural Resource Conservation Service, which Evan is about to speak to. Reach out, they're more than happy to help, and they'll be, you might think, am I a good fit? Just ask them. Just straight out pick up the phone and you will find out. Go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Evan Mather. I'm with the Natural Resources Conservation Service. So those that may not know, we're part of the United States Department of Agriculture, and our main focus is working with private landowners to do good environmental things. A lot of our funding comes out of the Farm Bill, which is probably a lot of is a real big piece of legislation. So there's multiple conservation programs that we administer from the Farm Bill. And again, even if I had more time, I wouldn't go too deep into them because it's not that important. The most important part is just to know that there is programs that NRCS has that can help you. And so, as I mentioned, our priority is private land, but there are kind of some caveats where we can work with public land, definitely not federal, but on state and county and township level. We can work on projects like that. Often, though, it needs to be tied through a partner. So, Raritan Headwaters is on the call today. They would be a good partner where if they're involved with the dam removal, we might be able to work it out so that we kind of contract through Raritan Headwaters to provide funding for a project that may be on public land. So we can help you, even though, like I said, typically our priority is on private land. The other little caveat too is we tend to be more focused on agriculture or forest land. So, if you're in downtown Belvedere, like some of the pictures that Beth said, that's a little bit of a tough sell because it's clearly urban. But when you look up in Blairstown at Paulina there, you had a lot of woods and stuff around. We probably could make a case there that we could work too. So the biggest thing is, we can find out pretty quickly just through some emails and a couple maps whether or not we'd have some funding that could help you. And there is more information on the State Dam Removal Partnership website where it gets into a little more depth on some of the programs as well. So in the case of time here, we'll kind of just keep it brief there. My email is here on the screen. If you need to get in touch with me, and otherwise, if you talk with Beth, she knows where to find me too. We've worked on a lot of dam removals throughout the state as well, including with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Raritan Headwaters, and a bunch of different partners. As was said, it takes many partners most times to get these dams out. So you're in the right spot to be hearing about that. So thank you, Beth.
All right, thanks, Evan. And as mentioned, I know it's not ideal, but we will stay on for questions. I did see a question in the chat. Michelle, can you read that? Or if Sherry, if you'd like to go ahead and just unmute yourself is probably the fastest thing to do.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering, Allison, on Lake Hitsonia, the pictures that showed the dewatering, there was quite a bit of vegetation established. Looks like it was really nice and green along the form. And I was just wondering whether you had seeded or if that was all just from the native seed bank.
Yeah, that's all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
That's all from the native seed bank growing back. And actually, we have an on-site meeting Thursday morning to discuss just that, the native vegetation, as well as the natural meandering and reestablishing of the channel, as opposed to what's on plan and versus what is naturally being developed out there, and also invasive species, because we all know now, this habitat will, may be taken over by less desirable species.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And on a side note, I actually live in Rockaway Township. I'm just down the road. So,
oh, nice.
If it would be possible at all for me to join you, I would love to see it firsthand.
What a great opportunity. My only regret with this project, if we didn't, we didn't incorporate more of a public outreach component, a nature trail, to show all the ecological benefits of the project. But the next one.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Any other question? I'm going to ask you to just unmute yourself and ask the question. We'll see if that's manageable.
Beth, I do have a question in the chat. So for reconstruction versus removal analysis, does the public outreach process follow NEPA?
I don't think I understand that question. Does the
I believe NEPA comes in on federally backed projects.
Yeah.
And in the Rockaway Township case, it was not.
So NEPA, if you're going to be moving earth around and it involves any federal money at all, you will be doing the NEPA process, but I don't understand if it falls under outreach, did you say?
Yeah, does the public outreach process follow the NEPA? So there is a public outreach component to NEPA, but I think the question is if you're doing a reconstruction versus a removal.
No, I don't.
Does it follow the same?
If you were using federal money, do we have somebody who can answer that? Would we need to do NEPA on a reconstruction?
Well, I could just add, NRCS doesn't do it as much anymore, but we have built historically a lot of dams, and we do I don't know what the proper word would be, I guess, kind of upkeep or maintenance over time. So we have some flood controls around Trenton, for instance, flood control dams, and I'm involved with that a little bit. So yes, in those cases, if it's a federal action, it's going to follow the NEPA process. So at least those, any kind of federal action like that typically will follow the NEPA process. So I would say yes, again, with the caveat of if you're getting federal funds or if a federal agency is actively engaged in that process.
And the NEPA process may or may not require a public meeting.
Right.
There's a checklist you do to determine, is there controversy? Is the public really interested in it? With dam removal, we know the answer is yes. People are really interested. There could be controversy, so we do the public outreach. But if I'm going to go plant some trees on a private landowner's property, it doesn't hit any of those litmus tests for public outreach in that way. So it just depends on the kind of project you've got.
Okay. Anyone else want to unmute themselves? Go ahead and ask a question.
And I guess let me just add one more thing too. So just within that, like NRCS, we have an environmental evaluation tool that's been, follows the NEPA process. So, on dam removals, there's times, we just did one in October where we did not theoretically need to do an outreach meeting because it was not a level of controversy that such warranted it. So you can possibly even follow the NEPA process and not have a meeting in some select cases. So anyway, just to be 100% clear on that.
Todd Manise, I've got a question in the chat. And in Vermont, we're having a discussion about how much sediment should we remove, how much should we leave in place to try and reduce the costs of dam removals so that we can do more dam removals because we've got limited funds. Does New Jersey have any policy on the amount of sediment to be removed and be left in place?
That varies quite a bit. I know that the Nature Conservancy has, just addressed that in a big way, and we're about to address it again. So I don't know that there's a rule of thumb, Todd, but obviously, number one, find out if it's clean. If it's not clean, you have a different set of options. If it is clean, how much, where am I releasing it to? For example, one of our projects was a stone's throw up above the Delaware River, right? So that's a different situation than if you're right up above a flat stretch of river where that sediment is more likely to settle out. I don't think there's a hard and fast number, but you will definitely interact very much with the DEP on the characteristic, particle size of the sediment, obviously the characteristics, as far as contaminants go, but also, what lies downstream and what might that sedimentation downstream mean? Is it gonna smother habitat? Is it gonna, raise water surface level to a point where it might, impact flooding downstream? Definitely a consideration with an exclamation point, but I think there's just such a wide breadth. Anybody else wanna weigh in on that?
Yeah, and Beth, if you've got endangered species on site or near site, that's something you're gonna have to take into account.
Yeah, we're discussing all those things in Vermont. One last offer, Beth, I'll email to you. This is a cover off of a 1980 USACE report. Encroachments on the floodplain. It's a hydrograph, 3 curves. Actually, I can send the full report email to you too, and people, you can put that up or email that around to folks. This has been very good. Thank you very much, everybody.
Well, thank you. Anyone else want to either throw a question in the chat or unmute yourself and ask the question? This video, like all the others, will wind up on the njdams.org site, maybe by the end of the week or so. Please invite others to go and view them. There's a variety of topics that start with, basically what is a dam, and then, moves up to these kind of case study videos, permitting, funding, all sorts of things you'll find on site. Anybody else? Anybody have anything that's not a question, but you're working with the town or hope to work with the town? Any comments or great thoughts to leave with the rest of us?
I'll just say thanks, Beth, for pulling together a lot of folks. Every meeting there's new potential partners, and it's really exciting to meet more folks who are interested in partnering on these kind of projects.
Oh, well, thank you for the kind words, but I feel exactly the same. Actually, Allison, when you mentioned those other 2 dam removals, I was like, how do I not know these things are happening? So a big part of what, the statewide dam removal partnership is trying to do is to be kind of a clearinghouse for this sort of, like, what's happening out there? What are the problems? What are the good things that somebody else, was able to figure out or do, better or more efficiently or cheaper? Like, that's the kind of conversations that we're trying to have. So I am also excited when folks join, and it's even growing geographically, that we have folks on from all across the country now. And I think today our Canadian visitor is our first official international registrants, so. Okay, if people do not have questions, I'm gonna, take one last look. I don't see other questions. I'll say that we're ready to sign off. Last chance for questions. Okay, look for the video and, direct other folks, other towns, whatever, have them take a look at this and they might have follow-up questions. We're always able to answer those as well. You can reach out to the partnership via that njdams.org site. All right, thank you all. Thanks especially to the presenters. That was fantastic. And all of our municipal appointed and elected folks. It was really great to have kind of the real deal folks weighing in. It is a challenging topic, and it was good to hear some success stories and just see some progress. All right, thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
See ya. Bye.
Thanks, Beth.